Hello and welcome. I'm Annette Reeder from the biblicalnutritionist.com. And today we're going to talk about what is the top sign of enzyme deficiency. And the answer I already know is going to totally surprise you. You may think enzymes are just a supplement that you take, but there's so much more to this that you really need to understand the design of enzymes and why this subject matters to you and all of your family, no matter what age they are. Thanks for letting me share with you God's recipe for excellent health, which always includes being confident with your health, which is what we're covering today, confident in the kitchen, which is why I do the cooking videos for you, and most importantly, confident in understanding God's love for you. Well, today I have the privilege, and it's totally a privilege, to have Dr. Milton Bastidas with us from Transformation Enzymes. And I am so excited for you to get to meet him and to learn. He is such an incredible research scientist that he has a lot to share with you. And today we're talking about the top sign of enzyme deficiency. Welcome, Dr. Bastidas, for joining us today.
Hello, and thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And thank you to all the audience that tunes in.
Well, this is great. So let's just start with, okay, tell us why enzymes are so important.
Well, with your opening statement there, I think I heard, if I heard correctly, God's recipe for good health. Well, God really, really sent us something that's almost magical in enzymes. As a matter of fact, without enzymes, we could not live. Every chemical reaction, or almost every chemical reaction in our body, requires an enzyme in order to get from point A to point B. So, and with our food, when we eat, if we had no enzymes, we could not break up that food. We could not extract the nutrients from it so that they can go into the circulation and be transported to our cells. So our cells can then thrive. So enzymes are very, very important for life. As a matter of fact, if I was stranded on an island and I had to pick one supplement I could take, it would be enzymes. It wouldn't be vitamins, minerals, it would be enzymes. Why? Because with enzymes, I'll be able to obtain everything that goes into my mouth. I'll be able to extract all the nutrients that I need in order for my cells to thrive.
So if someone, okay, most people around the world, I would say just America, but we're in 150 different countries today with the Biblical Nutritionist. And people around the world are contacting our office with so many health challenges. What specific health challenges could be addressed with enzymes, or how did God make enzymes to help with certain health challenges?
Well, the top sign of enzyme deficiency is poor health. If you have poor health, meaning if you are constantly sick, if you're constantly getting recurrent infections, if you have chronic fatigue, if you have brain fog, if you have intestinal discomfort when you eat, skin rashes, everything that a person can experience when they're ill, enzymes could help with tremendously. One of the biggest reasons is that enzymes have an amazing property to them, which is an anti-inflammatory. Now, every condition that walks through my door, give it the name you want to give it, whether it's cardiovascular disease, whether it's autoimmune disease, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, whatever name you want to give it, every condition has one common denominator, and that is inflammation. And when you supplement proteolytic enzymes, it has a huge anti-inflammatory property that at that point will quench and modulate the immune system, that at the moment with that condition, whatever name you want to give it, is expressing a chronic inflammatory response to our environment. So just by taking proteolytic enzymes, you're going to quench the common denominator to any condition that walks through my door. So it can be used literally for any condition. And again, Name it what you want to name it: cardiovascular, diabetes, hypertension, musculoskeletal, achy joints, you name it. If it has inflammation involved, enzymes is a way of helping you with that condition. Now, you have to get to the root of the condition. If you're a diabetic and it's because of hyperglycemia, your blood sugar is constantly elevated because of your diet, then the enzyme is not going to work its magic. You have to, you have to take some responsibility, and you have to, lower your sugar intake in order for that hyperglycemia to come down to normal levels, and then the enzymes, will do its magic. But just by taking proteolytic enzymes, you're going to have a huge step in reversing any condition.
Well, that's pretty incredible, especially since they were a God-designed nutrient that he put in the different foods, many of the different foods for us to consume. And then he created our body to make enzymes as well. So it's kind of like he covered it on both areas. Yet so many people are deficient, and you defined that one sign that we're deficient is that we have poor health. And more people have poor health than admit they have poor health. So,
most definitely. When you ask a patient to define good health, it's hard for them to do so. And these things are not things that happen. Like, for example, when I get a patient into my office, they never come in and say, I just started feeling this yesterday. No, right. It's always, I've had this since I was a child, or after I had my first baby, or, decades ago. And they don't remember when was the last time they felt well. So this is something that's chronic. This is something that goes on and on and on and on. But when you get to the root cause and you start using God's nutrients that we have in enzymes, it makes a huge impact on whatever it is you're dealing with.
give us an example of how the right enzymes at the right time brings the healing.
Okay, so we have to understand that there's different types of enzymes. So we eat, when we eat carbohydrates, we eat fats, we eat protein. So there's a different enzyme for every single one of those things. When we eat carbohydrates, we need carbohydrases, which are enzymes that break down carbohydrates. When we eat fats, we need lipases, which are the enzymes that break down the lipids. And when we eat protein, we need proteases, which are the enzymes that break down the proteins. So whenever you're supplementing with an enzyme, you have to make sure it's broad, okay? It has enzymes in order for you to digest fruits, vegetables, meats, fats, everything that's on the plate. So a good broad spectrum enzyme is going to take care of that. Now, that's in order for you to digest the food, okay? And you take an enzyme, a supplemental digestive enzyme with food so that you can break down everything that's in the plate. If you want for an enzyme to give you the systemic benefit and not just work on the food that's in your GI tract, but to go into the circulation and work systemically, then you take a proteolytic enzyme, a protease, okay, on an empty stomach. Because if you take it with food, then it's going to work on the food. Remember, a proteolytic enzyme breaks down proteins. So if you take it with a food, with a meal, it's going to break down the proteins in the meal. If you take it without a meal and your GI tract is empty, then it will be absorbed into the circulation, and in the circulation, it will impart its systemic benefit, which can be, your body will use it for what it needs it. If there's inflammation, these proteolytic enzymes go into the circulation and they're transported by a carrier called an alpha-2 macroglobulin. It's a protein carrier that we make in our body. It grabs the proteolytic enzyme and it carries it throughout the body, and that helps the enzyme, the proteolytic enzyme, do what it needs to do without eliciting an immune response. Because anything that comes into the circulation that's above 5 kilodaltons, your body may recognize it as an intruder. It may think it's a parasite, it's a fungus, it's a bacteria, it's a pathogen, so it will attack it. Since these proteolytic enzymes can range up to 100,000 kilodaltons, then it will elicit an immune response if there was no protein carrier. So the protein carrier is very important because it will carry the enzyme without it preventing it from being attacked by the immune system, right? So at that point, when the immune system says, okay, here's an alpha-2 macroglobulin, it's got an enzyme in it, it engulfs it, and the immune system carries it to areas of infection, to areas of inflammation, to areas of, where there's necrotic tissue, where there's injury, and it has what they call a leukocyte burst. It throws it up into the area where all that gunk is lying, and the enzyme then starts working on cleaning up the circulation, detoxifying, bringing down inflammation. That's how you impart its systemic benefit, by taking it on an empty stomach, proteolytic enzyme, high doses, and that's the way we combat any condition. And it's an extra tool. It's another tool that you can use in your journey in healing, because I know, there's different ways to skin a cat. Let's be honest. People like to go into, vitamins, minerals, and there's so many other things, herbs, glandulars. There's so many things that you can do in order to improve your health. Modifying lifestyle factors, diet, exercise, all that is great. All that is beautiful. Enzymes are just another tool that you can use. And the beautiful thing about enzymes is they don't shut off your immune system. Like when you take a steroid, for example, what you're doing is you're shutting off your immune system so that your immune system doesn't create inflammation towards something that is triggering. So it shuts down the immune system. And well, we don't want to do that. Why? Because inflammation is natural. God gave us inflammation in order to defend us from an intruder. So inflammation is natural. We don't want to shut it off with a steroid. What we want to do is quench that immune reaction. Okay, we want to get rid of the trigger. And with the proteolytic enzymes, the beautiful thing about it is it doesn't turn off the immune system. There's no toxicity involved because it doesn't accumulate in the tissues like a vitamin, a mineral, a drug. So there's no overdosing with proteolytic enzymes, and it doesn't work like a drug or a vitamin or a mineral, whereby you need to take X amount of milligrams per kilogram body weight. Enzymes do not work that way. Enzymes work not by weight, but by activity. So, for example, I'm going to give you an example. Vitamin C. Okay, some people, if they take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, they'll get, the flushing, right? If you take enzymes, you could take 1 pill, 2 pills, up to 10 pills. You're not going to get that type of reaction because there's no toxicity involved with it. There's toxicity involved with any vitamin, any mineral at a certain point. Your body just has a threshold for it, right? And drugs especially. With enzymes, your body uses it for what it needs, and whenever it no longer needs it, it either recycles it or eliminates it, okay? It doesn't accumulate in your tissues, so that's why there's no overdosing or toxicity involved with these proteolytic enzymes.
Okay, so let's break it down. So what you're saying is there's basically 2 reasons to be bringing in enzymes into our diet besides the natural food or body created enzymes. Number 1 is as a digestive aid. And as you said, anyone who's in poor health, you need to be considering some digestive enzymes. And I like how you said if you were stranded on an island, you'd want enzymes before any other vitamin, because if we can release the healing power that God put in our body with the key of enzymes, that has a more exponential effect than trying to make sure we have enough of the multivitamins in that. And then the second way was because of the systemic action that it has when we take it outside of a meal. So we've stopped eating for an hour, take some enzymes, proteolytic enzymes specifically, and then pause for an hour before our next meal. So therefore, the enzymes actually get into the bloodstream and start working towards the anti-inflammatory effect, which
Yes.
so many diseases are an inflammation-based disease. I mean, probably you would say every disease is based on inflammation, which might be what you said.
Yes.
And so when we are affecting the inflammation, we're lowering the toxicity in our body because that's being released. We're actually lowering weight too because it helps to unlock the toxins that are locked in the fat cells. We are affecting many different types of tumor cells because they have a membrane that is now affected by the anti-inflammatory effect. We are helping those with just having better cognitive function because it works throughout the whole body. And so what you're saying is, you said number one, the top sign of enzyme deficiency is poor health. And then the effect of a well-planned out proteolytic enzyme is to gain back the health. And as you and I were talking before we hit record, it's like, can people even describe good health? And most people can't because they have never experienced it. And what we're saying is God designed enzymes. And you're talking natural enzymes. We're not talking anything that's synthetic at all.
No, no.
Natural enzymes between eating times goes in and does that healing effect.
Yes.
It's not a stimulant. And
No.
so, and it doesn't create a toxic load in your body.
No.
In fact, it reduces the toxic load in your body.
Yes.
And I love how you're so much into research. You're even doing more research coming up about toxic load and all of that. So we'll get to that and maybe in another video.
Sure.
So that's what I want people to understand is that you have answers. They're 100% natural.
Yes.
And they have the healing effect that God purposed for them to have.
Most definitely. Even our food that God put in this world have enzymes. You know, you eat a banana, you know how the banana starts out greenish, then it turns yellow, then it starts spotting. Okay, that's enzymatic. That's enzymatic action that God gave that food item for its maturity and to unlock the nutrients that it brings. When we eat that banana, it goes in and within our GI tract, our pancreas produces more enzymes in order for us to digest that food item even more and for us to be able to extract the nutrient that banana brings. So we can obtain enzymes from foods, from vegetables, fruits, everything that God put on this earth has enzymes because it is a catalyst. It's an energy-rich protein, which is a catalyst for any chemical reaction to occur. So imagine how important that is for our body. That is 1,000 pieces working interdependently upon one another, and what they use in order for every part of our body to be able to function is a crosstalk of enzymes. You know, even when we don't supplement enzymes, our pancreas produces enzymes. And there's also different types of enzymes. There's digestive enzymes and there's also metabolic enzymes. The digestive enzymes are the enzymes that we supplement, like the ones I just mentioned, the carbohydrates, the lipases, and the proteases. Our pancreas makes digestive enzymes as well so that, you know, we can digest our food. But inside our body, our cells make enzymes because that's what converts, for example, it converts, for example, testosterone is converted. It can be converted into estrogen, or it can be converted into dihydrotestosterone. It can be converted into different molecules depending on the enzyme that's working on that testosterone. So it takes a hormone from one substance to another so that can go into our cells and impart its final effect on our body. So metabolic enzymes are the enzymes we have inside of us, made from our DNA, made by our cells, in order to make all those reactions, those chemical reactions that are happening in our body every second of our lives. That's how important enzymes
are. That's incredible. So just to wrap this up for everyone, are all proteolytic enzymes on the market the same?
Enzymes, they work by way of water, and they work by way of pH. So when you take a proteolytic enzyme and for example, the company that I'm director of research for, they have a proteolytic enzyme that has a pH from 2 to 8. That way, that enzyme will work in different compartments of your body. The stomach has a very acidic environment. Our blood has more of an alkaline pH, right? So if you take a proteolytic enzyme that has a pH range of 2 to 4, it's only going to work in the acidic environments, and it's not going to make its way into the alkaline environments. So it's going to be limited into working all over the body. So what you want to find is a company that has a proteolytic blend that has different proteolytic enzymes in it that will cover all the pH ranges from mouth to anus, what we like to say. And not all enzymes are the same as well. I mean, there's different sources of enzymes. You can get enzymes, for example, bromelain comes from pineapple. You can have enzymes that come from bacteria. You can have enzymes, that come from different sources. So they all have, while they're all have about the same characteristic, they have different properties. And depending on how you take it, what you take it with, and how you supplement them, it's going to give a different effect. So I always recommend that when people are taking enzymes, they have, they have supervision by someone who is well-trained in enzyme supplementation. Go to your holistic type of doctor or nutritionist that understands the body, understands your condition, and will be able to pick the best enzyme supplement for you specific to your condition.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we don't just want to purchase a proteolytic enzyme just because it says it has protease in it. So we want to make sure we're getting like you said, we want to make sure that it is designed to meet the right pH of the whole digestive system and not just the initial stomach acids. So I appreciate that, and definitely taking a lot of water at the same time. So do you have any testimonies that you want to share from people taking proteolytic enzymes?
At Transformation, I'm director of research, and I do case studies. And one of my most recent case studies we performed on a gentleman who was 71 years old with prostate adenocarcinoma. So here's where we get into how you could use these proteolytic enzymes as an adjunct protocol in conditions such as cancer. And these anti-cancerous properties are in the literature. This isn't me speaking. I always speak out of what I research and what I find in the literature. So seeing that proteolytic enzymes have anti-inflammatory properties and anti-oncogenic properties, I went ahead and did a case study on this gentleman, 71 years old, confirmed via biopsy to be having prostate adenocarcinoma. He had a tumor in the prostate that was shown by an MRI. He also had muscle hypertrophy in the pelvic region. He had a PSA, prostatic specific antigen, of 336. For the public out there, a PSA should be below 4, and his was 336. Wow. So that's huge. That's huge. And via biopsy, they gave this a Gleason score of 4 + 4, 8, which means it's aggressive. The Gleason score is a point system they give prostate cancer, and it's from 2 to 10, and he had an 8. An 8 shows that it was aggressive, it was malignant, and it had ability to spread. So we went ahead and dosed this gentleman for 6 months, and we used 30 grams of our proteolytic blend. That's, for you to put it in perspective, that's about 60 capsules a day. Okay, that's a lot. So that's where I was mentioning in the beginning that, there's no toxicity issues with this. Unless you're allergic to one of the ingredients within the capsule, you're not going to have a problem. So, we don't dose off that mega dose right at the beginning. We start slow and we start going up little by little, just to see, just to show the patient, to see if the patient tolerates it. There's people that are very sensitive, others can eat rocks and, nothing happens, but, you want to start low. We started at 5 grams a day, and we went up to 10 grams, 15 grams. We ultimately got to 30 grams, which was about 60 capsules a day. And we did this for about 6 months. The patient was only on testosterone blockers, which is one of the first things they do for prostate cancer. They put them on testosterone blockers, and that's it. They just kept them under observation. No chemo, no surgery, no radiation, nothing, just testosterone blockers. We dosed for about 6 months, 30 grams of the proteolytic enzyme blend, and we did a follow-up MRI after 6 months. Results: no tumor in the prostate. All the inflammatory markers that were measured were completely resolved. No more muscle hypertrophy within the pelvic region. The lymph nodes that with the MRI showed to be inflamed were completely resolved. They went back to normal. And the PSA that was 336 came down to 0.6, well below normal levels. So that's one of my biggest testimonies right now with that most recent case study I performed on prostate cancer. Again, gentleman had no surgery, no chemo, no radiation. All we did was mega dose of proteolytic enzymes. He did, of course, he in the beginning, before we got together, he started doing, vitamins, minerals, herbs. He started doing a lot of things in order to, when you're diagnosed with cancer, a lot of people, they tremble. And you start reaching out for, whatever it is out there, and you start throwing everything into the kitchen sink in order for you to combat this. And that's perfectly understandable. It's always about the patient. It's not about me. It's not about the enzymes. It's always about the patient. So I allowed him to keep doing whatever he was comfortable with in terms of supplementation. We lowered as many things as possible to the most minimal things that he was comfortable to be without. But what we did was we increased that proteolytic enzyme blend up to 30 grams. And in 6 months, we were able to get this patient cancer-free. And this was about a year and a half ago. A couple of months ago, he texted me. His latest PET scan still showed him free of cancer. So, that to me, that's a big testimony. And again, I am not preaching this to be a treatment for cancer or for this to cure cancer, but there's a lot of evidence that points to these proteolytic enzymes having oncogenic properties. I could speak to how, cancer has hallmarks, the characteristics that every cancer behaves with. They are able to evade the immune system. These cancer cells are able to turn off signals that your immune system has in order for the cell to die, because, every cell in our body has programmed cell death. They all have a time where they expire, and, God has made them to die whenever they run their course. Well, these cancer cells turn off those death signals in order for that cell to keep surviving and proliferating and reproducing and spreading. So There's several hallmarks of cancer that they all abide by, whether it's, prostate cancer, breast cancer, almost all cancers have these hallmarks that they use in order for them to survive. They're also able to turn on certain mechanisms to innervate themselves, to get blood supply to themselves in order for them to keep on growing. So there's different things that they can do in our body in order to survive and to spread. Well, proteolytic enzymes have properties that shut off some of those signals that cancer turns on in order to survive. And this is in the literature, and we have references for all this. For example, there is a transcription factor called BAX, which is a apoptotic signal, a signal that tells the cell to die. Well, cancer, these tumors are able to turn off that BAX so that that signal doesn't tell the cell to die and it keeps surviving. Well, bromelain is able to, which is bromelain, it comes from pineapple, it's a proteolytic enzyme, is able to modulate that signal in order for it to tell the cell to go ahead and die when it needs to. So that, there's different steps and different signals within your cells that tells the immune system to let this cell survive or tell the immune system to kill the cell because it's reached its course. And cancer is very, very smart in providing its own signals for its own survival. And proteolytic enzymes are God's nutrient that helps our cells thrive when they need to and go away when it's time for them to go away.
I so appreciate that. So let's just bring this down to the takeaway for everyone watching. Number one is what you've mentioned is we have to eat a God-designed real food diet.
Most definitely.
And you mentioned enzymes earlier when you were talking, yes, but you're not going to get enzymes in the packaged food in the middle of the grocery store.
Most definitely not.
No. So therefore, you're already inhibiting your whole digestive process and you're setting yourself up for the poor health by eating the processed foods. So what you said in the beginning, the top problem is poor health. So to reverse that, for every age, and especially preconception, which is my heartstrings, all the way up to whatever age a person is. I always refer to my dad as like at a great health at a good year of his life. He's 92, still playing golf and doing all that. Yet we need to have enzymes. So first of all, in our food, so eat a real food diet, yes. Drink lots of water so the enzymes can work efficiently. But then we are at a time in this culture that enzymes are very necessary. So even prior to investing in vitamins or in other things, which are good, I'm totally for that. Enzymes are the most necessary because they are the ones that unlock all of the potential of healing.
Yeah, very well put.
Even with enzymes, the vitamins work better.
Yes, most definitely.
If you're going to take vitamins, you need enzymes. And actually, I do like how Transformation Enzyme puts the enzymes in their multivitamins. So it's like, here's your multi, but we've added the enzymes to make sure they work efficiently. So we have a way to eat healthy, but now we have a healing time, which everyone should have a break in eating at least 4 hours between meals. So allow the digestive system to complete naturally its process. Allow the body time to rest, and then before you eat another meal. And that's the perfect time to take a proteolytic enzyme to get the healing, not on the digestion of food, but straight to the troubling problem. So let's just go attack it. Let's just go address it while everything is calmed down. It's like a straight shooter and hits that works at the inflammation area. And so much can be done when we can start reversing that. And I love the fact that it's not toxic to take proteolytic enzymes. So wow. You're not going to be allergic to it. You're not going to have issues with it. And also, if anyone who's under the care of their physician, which, we always want to make sure that you're following their guidelines first, your physician will most likely approve you using proteolytic enzymes in addition to whatever treatment that you are under. But you might want to check with them first just to make sure, but there's really no reason why they shouldn't approve it. And so I love this. I love your testimonies of what you have seen happen with your clients. And that is just fabulous, because we love how God designed the body to heal. And he's given people like you such a wisdom and knowledge to help the rest of us get that unlocking power of what he's given you and the knowledge to apply to the food, so that we can have the healing, because he is the one who brings the healing. We just give it the necessary ingredients that he's already told us about, and to help create that healing process.
You know, that's one of the biggest things I like about transformation, is that they emphasize the importance of a good foundation, which is nutrition. Nutrition comes first. You can't beat a bad diet. You know, the only way your cells are going to thrive is for proper, healthy, natural, God-sent nutrition. And then the enzymes will work, will do their magic. But the foundation is always what we put in our mouth. That's like, you know, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food, you know, because all disease begins in the gut. And that's, you know, that's so true today as it was 2,000 years ago when someone said it back then.
Yeah, it so is. We'll put a link down below to the specific enzymes that you're referring to, the ones that you used in your research, so people can check that out, because I know there's so many options out there on the market. If they just want to see, okay, I want to see the ones that he used to get that result, then we will put a link to that down below. And then they've even offered all of our viewers a coupon code so you can get a discount. So I'll put that coupon code next to it as well. And we've tried to get the highest discount possible for our followers, and they've been very generous to do that. So I'll put all of, go ahead.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. In addition to the case study I performed, and that's just one case study, you know, we have several case studies, but Baylor University did a university level research study on that very same blend that I used for the prostate cancer case study. And their research was more at the cellular level. They measured in 29 individuals. They measured pro-inflammatory cytokines. A cytokine is a substance that your immune system makes in order to aid the immune reaction. So these pro-inflammatory cytokines, and I'm going to name some, you know, like interleukin-1 beta, interleukin-6, TNF-alpha, even the COX-2 enzyme, which is an enzyme that we have internally that takes arachidonic acid and makes inflammatory prostaglandins. And I know I'm getting a little technical, but just bear with me. This COX-2 enzyme is responsible for the inflammatory cascade in our body when we need inflammation. Of course, remember, inflammation is normal, it's natural, we need it. So when we speak about inflammation, we're not trying to dog inflammation, we just want to control it. Because a lot of times it goes uncontrolled because the trigger is still present. That's why I said in the beginning, you have to do your due diligence and get to the root cause, take care of the trigger so that the immune system can, you know, rest. So anyways, Baylor University went and performed a study on pro-inflammatory cytokines, the ones I mentioned, interleukin-1 beta, interleukin-6, interleukin-12, TNF-alpha, and the COX-2 enzyme. And they showed that with this proteolytic blend, the same one I used for the case study, they showed that these pro-inflammatory cytokines, compared to the control, to the placebo, because they did 29 individuals, half were dosed with the proteolytic enzyme blend, and the other half took an empty pill, if you will, a placebo, and they compared. Well, the treatment group, in terms of those pro-inflammatory cytokines, they showed across the board an overall reduction in these pro-inflammatory cytokines, whereas the placebo group sustained those pro-inflammatory cytokines after 3 hours, 24 hours, and after 48 hours of the inflammatory trigger. So Baylor showed that at the cellular level, this blend reduces inflammation. I followed it up with a clinical trial, in-house observatory study on inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein and fibrinogen and sed rate. With these which these are markers that, when you go to your physician, they can measure to see if you have any type of inflammation systemically. So in those three markers across the board, we were able to show that the protease group had an overall reduction in those markers of inflammation. So it was a follow-up study to Baylor, because remember, Baylor did the pro-inflammatory cytokines at the cellular level. I did clinical markers that a physician would order, CRP, sed rate, fibrinogen. So I also showed, just like Baylor showed, that at the cellular level and at the clinical level, we're able to decrease those inflammatory markers. And then with that cancer case study of the prostate cancer, we were able to show also that the PSA was lowered, that the tumor was completely resolved, that the lymphatic system that was inflamed, congested, that lymphadenopathy was also completely resolved. So that goes, it follows in line with what Baylor demonstrated to begin with, that this blend is anti-inflammatory. And like I said, any condition that walks through my door has one common denominator, and that is inflammation.
Well, okay, so just to piggyback on what you just shared, the co-author of my Bible study and my nutrition manual is Dr. Richard Cooey. Who
I love Dr. Cooey.
Yeah, exactly. And you always have a good day when you talk to Dr. Cooey.
Yes.
So in our video series that goes with the Treasures of Healthy Living Bible study, he does present that whole talk in the video series for people to share with their audiences. And so that just is a great segue into what you just shared. And so I just want to thank you so much for sharing with us today. We could sit here for days and learn from you, but we've given everyone enough takeaway to apply what they've heard, take steps immediately, and to gain the health and the knowledge that they were looking for when they came on this video. So thank you again for joining us. And for the rest of you, thanks for being a part of the Biblical Nutritionist family. If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe and the bell next to it to get notified every time we have another video posted, because I get the honor and the blessing to share with you God's recipe for excellent health. And that always includes the number one most important ingredient is the recipe ingredient that God loves you and he desires to have a personal relationship with you, and he is there waiting to accept you for that. And so thank you again, Dr. Bastidas, for sharing with us, and I'll put a link to the Transformation Enzymes, Proteolytic Enzymes, plus a link to the Treasures DVD series where they can also learn from Dr. Cooey. You always have a delightful day when you're with Dr. Cooey. So thank you again, everyone, for watching and for being a part of this Biblical Nutritionist family.